Welcome to the Holistic Success Show. I'm Elizabeth Lozano.
My name is Dr. Robert Puff.
And on this week's episode, we're going to be interviewing a music therapist who's going to tell us how you can benefit from music at home.
And we're going to have two segments on what is meditation, and secondly, how can you take meditation and actually increase your level of happiness.
And we're also going to be answering viewers' questions. The first question is going to be, how do you stay positive while looking for a job?
And the second one is, when you meditate, how do you enhance or increase your intensity of meditation so you can have a marvelous experience?
Thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoy our show.
Thank you. I'd like to talk about 4 different types of meditation. There are many, probably thousands, but there are 4 basic ones. My favorite one of teaching people is, I am peaceful. Now, how would that work with meditation? When you breathe in, you don't say this out loud, but in your mind you're saying, I am. So you breathe in, I am. When you breathe out, you say, peaceful. Breathe in, I am, again in your head. Breathe out, peaceful. And what you'll find is you breathe deeply, and you breathe slowly, and saying that I am peaceful, your mind will begin to quiet, become more still, and you just follow that phrase. Now what will happen is your mind will wander, go here, a thought will come in, the grocery list you have to do, the activity, wondering about Uncle Bob. But just go back to your phrase, I am peaceful. Don't be upset when your mind wanders, very normal. Just go back to I am peaceful. So that's a mantra, prayer word, as a way of meditation. And there's lots of words you can use. You could just simply shorten it and say you can shorten it and say peaceful. Breathe in peaceful, and then breathe out silence. Breathe in peaceful, silence. If your faith is important to you, I encourage people to bring in their faith as part of it. For example, Jesus, people in the Western Hemisphere might breathe in Jesus, or breathe in Jesus. Either way. And another one, a very old one within the Christian tradition, is Maranatha, which means Christ cometh, or Lord cometh. And you would just breathe in, again, the 4 syllables. You want to break it up into a rhythm. So breathe in breathe in Mara, and then breathe out Natha. Breathe in Mara, Natha. Again, in your mind, not out loud. And just breathing in, and what you'll find is you'll get slower and slower. If you have a different faith, again, you could say Buddha, Krishna, if you're Hindu, Krishna, or whatever your tradition is. Again, you want to make it work for you, but one I often teach most people, and it's a very simple one that people use for years, is just, I am peaceful. Because when you're saying it, you're thinking about being peaceful, and meditation will make you peaceful. So a word meditation, a mantra, that they call in the East, is a very effective way of meditation. The second one, which I really like, and probably is my favorite, is what I call silence meditation, or breath meditation. And all that entails is you silently watch your breath. You feel yourself breathing in, watch yourself breathing out. Breathe in, breathe out. You're doing it quietly. All you're doing is watching your breath. But you're not thinking anything, you're not saying anything, you're just breathing. And it takes you to a very deep place, and probably the deepest place you can go. It's very relaxing. It took me a while to be able to cultivate a silent meditation, but I think you'll find if you stay with meditation, it's a very wonderful form of meditation, and it is personally my favorite. So consider just silently watching the breath and having no thoughts, no words be in your mind, and just being still, watching your breath, and watching how quiet your mind becomes. And then a third one is what I call a guided meditation. And what do I mean by that? That's someone else talking. And as they're talking, you're listening to what they say, perhaps on a CD or your iPod with headphones on, or a player nearby. And you have your eyes closed and you're sitting comfortably. And you just listen to them tell you what to do. And in most meditations, a guided meditation is very relaxing. They start you off by focusing on your breath. In my CD audiobook, Meditation for Happiness and Health, it's a very effective way to, I give a guided meditation at the end of it there. It's a very effective way to get into meditation. So, but there are many of them out there, and try different ones and try one that fits for you, because it's really a wonderful way. I think for people whose minds wander and they have a difficult time sticking to something, having someone else guiding you is a really beautiful way to get in that quiet, peaceful, kind of nirvanic state. It's wonderful, and I encourage you to try a guided meditation, try different ones, and incorporate it in part of your life. And kind of the great thing about the guided meditation is you can have headphones on, being at the center of your house, and people can be doing their activities because you're listening to the guided meditation. It distracts you from all the external noises, and you can just focus on what the person's saying. One of my person who purchased my guided meditation, he'd only been able to meditate for 5 minutes for years. He tried. He could never go further than 5 minutes. And when he listened to the guided meditation that I did, he was able to listen to it twice, about a half an hour long, and do a straight hour. So guided meditations can be a very effective way when you struggle to help you not struggle with meditation. And then lastly, I want to talk about a walking meditation and have Elizabeth demonstrate what that is. And a walking meditation is basically meditation, but while you're moving. And the way you do that is with each breath in, you move your foot forward, lift it up, watch Elizabeth, and you put your foot down, you breathe out. So it's a very slow meditation. Breathe in, lift your foot up. Breathe out, put it down. Breathe in, lift your foot up. Breathe out, put your foot down. And what you're doing here is you're creating a rhythm with walking and your breath. You kind of keep your eyes to the ground, gazing so you don't trip into anything, of course. And you just slowly walk with your breath. Now, of course, to do this in public, it may be more difficult. So what you want to do there is basically take steps, probably 2 steps with each breath, because you don't want to walk too slowly because you may look funny. But it's the still same pattern still. You're walking with your breath. And as you continue to observe Elizabeth, she's just, with each step, she's taking another breath in, take a foot up, and then when you breathe out, you put a foot down. And it's a very relaxing, very meditative way of entering into a meditative trance. And I really encourage you to try it, because it's a wonderful experience, and it's a great way to use activity and meditation at the same time.
And now it's time for questions from our viewers. Our first question comes from Rick F., who is from Fullerton, California. And his question is, how in these tough economic times do I maintain a positive attitude while looking for employment?
One, I know a lot of people are out of work right now, and that makes it difficult. So the thing you have to ask yourself is, is a positive mental attitude even important? And it's very important. Not just in the work when you're looking for work, but it's in life. But let me kind of laser focus it on work right now. One, you're already doing something that can cause you suffering. What I mean by that, you have something that's negative, you're out of work, and that can attack your self-esteem. It can make you feel poorly about yourself. And then you're going to have to go out and find interviews and present your best face forward, your best foot forward, and say, hire me. And so if you walk in with a negative mental attitude, or you're having one all day long, that just manifests. I often use the analogy, we're like a little computer. Whatever we type in all day long is going to come out. So Rick, if you don't decide that it's important to maintain, which I think you're saying it is, you first have to decide it is very important to maintain a positive mental attitude. Because then what happens is when you go for that interview, you go in doing well. You're ready for that. You're ready to get the job. And, as you know, Elizabeth, a lot of people are suffering right now. So.
Absolutely. Wouldn't you think, too, because, being unemployed and losing your job or, being laid off, that can lead somebody into depression or feeling lots of sadness, and going into somewhere where you're supposed to be, new job, you have your best, best shirt on, best, going in there, but your energy is just negative because you're feeling so awful. Maybe you're thinking you're not going to get this. Maybe you're watching the news and reading the newspaper about how awful the economic times are or the unemployment rate rate is, you're going to go in there with that negative just energy and thought, and that absolutely conveys to the people who are interviewing you.
And a little trick I have, and it's a really good one. I recommend it for couples, but even for the person looking for a job. And I always suggest this, because what's going to happen is you're going to say, well, what's wrong with me? But if, let's say, you spend 40 hours a week, because that's what most of us work, 40 hours a week. Let's say you spend 40 hours a week, looking for interviews, getting on the internet, calling people, going to interviews, finding jobs. At the end of that week, even if you didn't get a job, you're going to feel good about yourself. And your spouse is going to, or your significant other is going to feel good about you. So I have this rule that I always say with people: when you're looking for a job, spend the same amount of time looking for a job that you would in being at a job. So then it really fights off the negativity. Because negativity, it's like this virus that just starts building, like a computer virus. And once it starts building, it loves to build. And it's looking for fodder. It's looking for material that can say, see, you're really, doing poorly. You're really, I don't mean this literally, but it's going to say you're a loser. You don't have a job. And the way to fight that is, it doesn't have any material to attack you with if you spent 40 hours a week looking for a job. And, it doesn't mean you're always finding a job, but it's a sense of, I'm putting forth this effort. And then at the end of the day, you stop. And the weekend comes, you stop. So you can take care of yourself and you continue to look. But a positive mental attitude, as both Elizabeth and I know, is very important in life in general. I actually have a book called How to Live a Positive Life. And I would actually, not to toot my own horn, but I would encourage you to listen to it or read it, because it really talks about the importance of keeping a positive mental attitude across the board. Because when you do that, guess what? Positive mental attitudes create positive lives.
Absolutely. And I want to add in too, during this time, as you're looking for a job, I think it's important to practice self-care, which is basically the message that we're trying to convey here. So exercise, eat good, don't go out and eat junk food and just lay on the couch and do nothing, just surfing on the internet looking for a job. It's important to be active, get out there, do things to take care of yourself, because all those things you're just putting junk into your system, and it's going to make you feel worse and worse.
And what Elizabeth said earlier, I think is very key too. I've over the years I've hired a lot of people, and you really pick up the attitude of the person when they're being interviewed. You can tell, like, this person has energy, they're vibrant, they're an asset to our company. We want to bring them on. And someone who's kind of down, like, I really like a job, you'll feel that as an employer and say, do I want to hire this person? Are they going to bring negativity to this company? So it's just very important, what I call a buy-in. You want to buy in that having a positive mental attitude is crucial, very, very important. Then when you buy into that, then you're going to start cultivating that. And so what happens is, now here's another thing. Remember the witnessing thing I talk about? When the negative thoughts kick in, because they will come, what you do is you witness them, and then you get back to what you're doing. Then you get back to looking on the internet, finding a job. And so what you don't do, what a lot of people do is the negativity thoughts kick in, is why don't you tell them what most people do?
They either sit on it and they ruminate on it, so they think about it over and over and over again, and maybe one thought might lead to the next, and then they go on with those negative thoughts. Maybe I'm such a loser goes into, I can't do anything right, I'm never going to find a job, and it's just a downward spiral. That's one of the common ones that I find people, often experience.
Yeah, and when you try to, and the other one is what they do is say, well, don't think about that. And that doesn't work either, because when you try to suppress something, it actually gives it power. So what you do is you witness as, okay, right now a negative thought popped in my head. It's not going to, Dr. Puff and Elizabeth are saying, don't focus on that. Instead, witness it, and then get back to what is happening. Like, again, get back to looking for a job if it's at 40 hours a week to look for a job, or if it's the weekend, if you're enjoying your kids, enjoy your children. If you're going for a walk, go for a walk. Just say, this isn't what I'm focused on right now. I'm focused on what is happening here and now. And part of being holistically healthy, holistically successful, is living in the present moment, always.
Absolutely. And another thing that I recommend too is that, try and notice the positive things about yourself, really work on that, because you're really trying to work in the opposite direction, kind of brainwashing yourself in the other direction. Mm-hmm. And besides that, you might find employers who are going to ask you, what are some positive assets about yourself? What are some great things about you? And if all day long you've been just typing in negative thoughts into your head, you're going to be like, I'm a good dresser. So there's a lot of wonderful things about you. So really explore that and really, acknowledge those things. I'm not saying be conceited, because that isn't being conceited. Noticing the positive things to help build your self-esteem is a very, very important thing to do.
Yeah, so again, Rick, as you're looking, keep that positive mental attitude. Realize it's very important. And that, even though you may not get your first job, I can pretty much guarantee you that's going to be one of the crucial, critical factors in getting your job. So good luck, Rick.
Good luck. And thanks for your question. I'd like to introduce this week's guest, Vladena Zorjan-Stubb. She is a board-certified music therapist and earned her master's degree from the University of Pacific. She has worked with children, individuals with developmental disabilities, people with mental illness, geriatrics, as well as oncology patients. And through her work, she has developed relaxation and stress management techniques using music therapy. So Vladena, why don't you tell us a little bit more about the work that you do and perhaps how you got involved in the work?
Okay. Well, I'm a music therapist, and I use music to help my patients and my clients improve or maintain their physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual functioning. Okay. In other words, I use music as a tool to achieve non-music goals. I'm the co-founder of Music to Your Ears, and I do group and individual music therapy sessions. Wow. As well as stress management and relaxation classes.
Okay. So tell me a little bit, like, how does a group therapy class work for music therapy versus kind of one-on-one?
You look for achieving the goals of the group. You try to find the goals that are collective for the group and have a session planned toward those goals. When you're working with individual, then you work on the goals of that individual.
What are some of the common things that you typically work with somebody on? Like, what would be a typical client of yours?
Well, music therapist serves a lot of clients. I work with healthy people. I work on increasing stress management and relaxation using various relaxation techniques and using live music. I have also worked with children with emotional needs and with autism, with developmental delays. I worked with oncology patients. I worked with mentally ill, with geriatric, with people with Alzheimer's and dementia. So it depends on the population. Okay. You choose the goals and working toward the goal. If you are working in the facility, you are working together with a psychologist or with other therapists, and you are trying to achieve the same goals, but just using the music.
What is the most amazing thing, perhaps maybe in regards to progress, that you've seen with some of the clients that you've worked with?
Oh, I saw a lot of amazing things. I remember when I heard a woman who didn't talk for months start singing a song that she probably remembered from her youth. I had clients who cannot remember where they were born or where did they work, remembering the lyrics of all the songs. I had clients who shared their thoughts and feelings that I don't think they would otherwise share if the music was not involved. And with children, I saw a lot of progress, like education-wise.
Wow.
So, a lot of beautiful things.
That kind of gave me the chills to hear about some of those stories. So you kind of give people another voice to communicate through instruments, through music, through, it gives them another voice. I often, in the work that I do with my clients that I've, seen, because I'm a marriage and family therapist also, I have used a lot of art and a lot of music as well, but I really like how you focus on that because unfortunately it's been taken out of the schools, so kids don't have a lot of opportunity to do that. And it's so important for them to express themselves. So tell me a little bit about, what is a typical thing that you do with a client? Like, how would you, come in and decide what instrument they would use, or whether it's singing or, singing along to a song? How do you decide that?
Well, music therapists first have to do assessment. Assessment is necessary so we would know what is something that's needed. Okay. You assess the client or the patient, and then according to that assessment, you decide what kind of goals would you like to work on. Would it be communication, socialization? Would it be reality orientation, for example, with mentally ill? Would it be something educational with children? Or maybe increasing the self-esteem, or with, let's say, oncology patients, maybe decreasing the pain and improving the relaxation. So you'll have to assess the patient. Sometimes you have very short time to do assessment, sometimes you have a long time and you can read the other assessments of other professionals. And after the assessment you decide and you make the goals. Okay. So you lead your session according to what goals you decided to achieve.
Okay. So I would imagine that a lot of our viewers, and even myself, each of us, deals with stress. Stress happens. So for stress management, I know you talked a little bit about, some of the things that you do. What would you recommend for somebody that maybe is having a stressful day? Maybe, things are just going tough either at work or at home with their kids or maybe with their spouse. What is something that you would recommend to somebody who's struggling with that?
Okay, if you would like to use music, there is a lot of places where you can purchase CDs with relaxing music. I just suggest that music be without the words and with slow tempo. So allowing yourself maybe 10-15 minutes a day to just lay down and close your eyes and focus on breathing. Breathing would be the first thing I would suggest to work on, because breathing is the first thing that gets upset when we get anxious. Our breathing becomes faster and more irregular. So just closing your eyes and focusing on slow inhalations and slow exhalations through your nose, if you can do it, and just focus on that and do it for 10-15 minutes, and even practicing just that, like a breathing technique for a month. If you can do it every day, it would bring great benefits.
So what you're talking about sounds very similar to meditation, and that's actually Dr. Puff has a whole segment that we are going to be showing you clips of how to meditate, how to breathe, how to do that deep breathing, because I think that is such an important and crucial part, not just listening to the music, because the music does absolutely make a difference, but also breathing, taking those nice slow deep breaths. And I tell you, I'm an avid believer in it, because I do that after a stressful day. I take a nice hot shower, take some nice deep breaths, and listen to some soothing music. And I tell you, if I'm on a stress level of 8, it's dropped down to a 2, 1, maybe even a 0. So it's great. So why don't you tell us a little bit about, if somebody is interested in maybe seeing a music therapist, how they can get in contact with you. Please tell us again, the name of your company, perhaps how they might be able to contact you. And also, if they live in another area of the world, how can they find somebody who's a music therapist? How would one go about looking for somebody like that?
Okay. Well, my company is called Music to Your Ears, and it's based in Tustin, California. I can be reached at the phone number 949-872-6061, or through my email, zvladana@yahoo.com. And music therapists can be found through American Music Therapy Association, through their webpage. There are music therapists all over the United States, and you can contact them. You can check the webpage and find the state that you live in, and look for a contact for the music therapist in that state.
And I really recommend you to reach out and find ways to help you manage stress or deal with pain, like you had mentioned as well, to deal with what's going on in your life, because you don't have to suffer. You don't have to go on with all this stress and anxiety or pain. There's a lot of alternate ways to deal with it. Well, Vladena, thank you very much for coming and being a guest on our show. We really appreciate you coming. And if you'd like to get a hold of her, please try that number or write her in an email. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
I'd like to share with you my personal journey with meditation, how I got into it and where it's taken me in my life. I've been meditating off and on now for about 30 years, and very solidly for at least over a decade. But what happened was, when I was 19 years old, I was an undergraduate student studying psychology, and I was introduced through research about the benefits of meditation. So I started trying it, and I said, wow, this was nice. It was very relaxing. It was very peaceful. And, I kind of did it intermittently for years. Just I'd try it for a while, and I kind of go away from it for a while. I'd do it for a while, and I'd get back into it. And then maybe like 15, 20 years ago, I'm not sure how long ago it was, I met a woman who really talked about not just the research aspects of it, but it was a very good growth tool. Like you could grow personally and spiritually inside, and that people around the world, particularly different religious traditions, use meditation as a means of spiritual and emotional growth. And that excited me. That said, because that growth has just been something I'm passionate about. Really from a young child, I have just loved to study and be involved and to grow as a human being. And when I learned how meditation really was a pivotal, if not the most important tool for growth, I just dove into meditation. And have been meditating, as I said, for, I don't even know, but for at least 15 years, regularly, twice a day. And what I normally do in my day is I meditate usually in the morning for about an hour. I didn't do that initially, I worked up to that, but now I do about an hour every morning, and then anywhere from a half an hour to an hour every evening. It's usually the last thing I do and the first thing I do. And I love meditation. I love meditation. It's gotten to a place where it's never hard for me. Sometimes I'm tired, so I might fall asleep meditating, but it's never like, oh, do I have to meditate now? I truly love meditation. And it's done so much for me, and I think the biggest validation that it's been helpful for me is that people that know me, that have known me for many years, it's definitely softened me, made me more gentle, kinder, just more relaxed and peaceful human being. It's if we metaphorically compare me to a firecracker with a fuse, my fuse has gotten much, much longer. It's not that I can't get angry or upset, but it takes a lot more for that to explode in me, and it just keeps you centered. It kind of, you get a sense, or I get a sense of that just all ultimately is well in life, in my life and the life around me. I see the struggles, and it's not that I don't feel the pain. That's why I'm about helping people to learn how to grow. I'm passionate about that. But what it does, it helps me realize that it isn't just, we don't just live in a mad world, that we can really create a beautiful world, and meditation helps me realize that. I've had, not always, but I've had incredibly mystical experiences, and it was interesting. Many years ago, if I can share a story, I was interviewing a heroin addict. He'd been a heroin addict for quite a few years, and he was telling me what it was for him, what his experience was like to be a heroin addict, what he experienced. And it was really interesting to me. It was actually illuminating. I discovered that what they were experiencing was similar to what I was experiencing when I had some very deep meditations and have had a course of my life. They describe this very blissful, this nirvanic experience, and I thought, that's kind of what I feel like when I'm doing meditation. Very similar to what they were experiencing when they were on heroin. So conclusion I came from that is, we all have the capacity to have a very beautiful, wonderful experience in meditation. But what heroin does, heroin gets you there much more quickly, but with all the side effects. And the similar analogy would be, you can go to school, and learn a skill, get very good at that skill, and then acquire a very good income for that skill. Or you can go rob a bank, and you'll get the same amount of money, but then you're going to end up in jail. And I think drugs are like robbing a bank, where meditation is like doing that work, putting in that time to make yourself available. I don't have expectations that I'm going to have, obviously, a blissful experience every time, because I don't. They're always peaceful, that they always are, but sometimes they are amazing. I've had visions. Many times I feel like I'm being transformed, where I'm not only one with the earth, but I'm one with the universe. It really makes it so when I look at you, or I look at me, I don't see so many differences. When I look at other people, I kind of see, we're connected. I see a connection to other people, and how we fit together, and it just helps me to really both love myself, but I think equally as important, love others, because everyone matters. I really believe that. And the softness and the gentleness and just the overall sense that all is well is what meditation has given to me. And that I yet proactively, through having, creating these videos, books, CDs, a TV show with Elizabeth, all these different things I do to try to make the world a better place. But my part in that is to help, because everyone matters and everyone really can have a beautiful life. So if I can, through my own experience, I want to encourage you to open up your heart to meditation. It doesn't always go well. At first it was a struggle for me, and I just stuck with it, and then what I found was it got easier and easier and more enjoyable. It physiologically has affected me and changed me. People that know me know I went from requiring from 6 to 8 hours of sleep. I need now about 3 to 6 hours of sleep a day, which is pretty unusual. But it's not like I'm using caffeine all day to get through the day. I pretty much can go through a day feeling very rested on sometimes even 3 hours of sleep. And that's just a physiological change I've experienced. And that physiological change, as I said, just makes me more grounded. It makes life just better. And I've really learned to My mind used to be very active and crazy, and I really enjoy silence. I enjoy quietude. I've learned to focus on just being present in the here and now instead of thinking about what's going to happen, what will happen. I can do a lot in a day. It's not that I don't do anything. It's more the sense of when I do that, I just do that. And it helps me be very focused on what the present moment instead of being, anticipating or expecting what's going to happen in the future or stuck in the past. It's really helping me live in the here and now in a much more full way. So as I said, I really want to encourage you to think about it, to perhaps embrace it, and even though initially it will be a struggle, and it may be a struggle, that you'll find it gets easier and easier, more and more enjoyable, and the depths of it are fathomless. There just is no bottom to this. So enjoy, and I'd love to hear your stories, and hopefully someday when I meet you, you'll say that Dr. Puff, you're right. Meditation has a transforming quality to it that is beyond description. And even as trained as a clinical psychologist and helping people around the world to change, I believe the most important change agent that's out there for us is meditation. So consider it, and thank you for being part of my journey. Peace.
So our second question comes to us from Kim P., who is from Brea, California. And she writes in, I try to make time to fit all of my daily activities into my day. What suggestions can you give to give more meaning to my meditation and allow me to give it more meaning?
Well, Kim, I think the important thing there is to start with meditation. What is it in my life? Is it something important? Is it something, tertiary, something I can kind of go to sometimes? Or do I make it an essential part of my life? And if I can, from just my own personal and professional experience, I'd really encourage you to make it a super important priority. Because meditation is, I feel, the most effective change agent that human beings can get involved with. I love meditation. I've meditated for almost 3 decades. And even though I was trained as a clinical psychologist and as a consultant, and I've done many, many things over the years, and a researcher, I have found the most effective form of change to help a person grow and to do better in life and just overall function, as I talked about earlier, the happiness part, is meditate. So if you decide that meditation and kind of buy into that, well, he's saying meditation is important, or we're saying meditation is important, then what I do, again, I want to share my own personal story. I say, okay, the day has begun. I'm going to meditate. So what do I have left to do after that? And so what I do is I say, okay, I'm going to definitely meditate in the morning. I usually meditate an hour in the morning. And that's just what I do. Whether how full my day isn't like I let go of meditation, then I fill my day. It's like I do meditation and what's left. And
so would you suggest for somebody starting off, an hour might be a very difficult thing to sit and do for just starting off. So what might be
She keeps me in check.
So what might be a good kind of starting point for somebody to go from? Maybe they don't meditate at all and they want to start, or maybe they're having a hard time fitting in their day. Maybe they have kids they have to take care of in the morning. What is a good amount of time that somebody could start with? The
goal should be working towards 20 minutes. I really like the 20 minute because it gives you enough time to be in the state, to feel the relaxation, to help you grow, and then work towards a half an hour. But even initially, I had a guy who I love. He was a wonderful kind of patient of mine that I got him to start with 5 minutes, and he did that for a while. And then ultimately, what he found was he did much better with guided meditation. So I created a guided meditation, and he listened to that, and he could meditate much, much, much longer. So you have to find what works for you.
Kind of working your way up, kind of like working out.
Exactly.
You wouldn't go run a 5-mile, marathon if you've never ran at all. So
Well, I didn't start with an hour a day.
Okay.
I started with, it was very difficult at first, and then I got more into it, and now it's very easy for me to meditate. But again, meditate in the morning. Work towards perhaps try to decide half an hour in the morning, maybe half an hour at night. That's your goal, and then saying, okay. Study it. If you don't believe me, read the book that, I've written on meditation, study meditation. There's so much research showing all the benefits of it. And say, okay, this is something that's important. So when something is important, you kind of dive into it and you make it a priority. And then because it's a priority, you get all the benefits from it. And it's hard because a lot of people think, that meditation, it's kind of like weird stuff, or it's hard because it's very difficult just to be still.
Mm-hmm. You're
You know,
absolutely
our
right.
minds just go all over the place, and a lot of people have a very difficult time at first. You know, so being part of a group, you know, where you're with other people, you know, continue to watch the show because we're going to talk a lot about meditation, all the different holistic aspects, and meditation is one of the pivotal points of it. But learn about it, grow in it, and just say, I'm going to set aside time for this. Like Elizabeth so wisely said, set aside a little bit of time, and then have it grow till it reaches a point where maybe you will someday meditate an hour a day, and you know, half an hour at night or hour at night. It's up to you. But really, I think it's just buying into meditation is something good for my soul. It's good for my spirit. It's good for me psychologically. It's good for me physically. I mean, there's a plethora of things that meditation does to make us healthy and whole. And if you start meditating, I think you'll very quickly find, and I'd love to hear from you, you very quickly find that, wow, meditation is something that's marvelous, and I'm going to set aside time for it, make it a priority, and make it part of my life, not an adjunct that I can fit in when I'm not too busy.
And don't you think, too, I mean, let's say somebody is having a really busy day, unfortunately, because that happens sometimes, that we can fit it in places that you might not even think of, whether it's driving or whether it's, you know, you're taking a shower or whether you're walking, which we are going to end up showing you guys and teaching you some wonderful ways to meditate. But I mean, I myself, at the end of a long day, sometimes when I'm in the shower, that's kind of what I do, or when I'm laying down in bed before I go to sleep, I just really pay attention to really focus on breathing and just really letting those thoughts go away and not kind of ping pong back and forth in my head. So, I mean, even that, like even right before bed, that's really time that you have right there, you know, that you're really kind of quieting the mind and having just a chance to just really breathe.
Yeah, and I think, you know, what Elizabeth is so wisely saying, you know, make it personal, make it fit you. You know, I really went through a lot of different stages in my life of meditation. Sometimes I did it this way, sometimes I did it here, sometimes I did it for this length, sometimes I was listening to this or that. Make it fit for you and just work with it. There is no exact way of doing it, but make it a priority and say, you know, a lot the research and, you know, we're saying it's important, and I think a lot of people out there are really saying it's the thing to do. Mm-hmm. So just work with it, explore it, and make it fit your personality. And today it may be this, today it may be, hey, I'm really going to sit in this posture, you know, deep breathing, and maybe in a couple of years you may be doing more of the walking meditation, like the shower meditation, you know, whatever it is that works for you to quiet your mind. But it is a wonderful way. It's like our bodies need rest, our minds need rest. So give your mind the rest that it needs.
And thank you very much for your question, Kim. And as a gift, both you and Rick, who asked our previous question in this episode, are going to receive a free autographed copy of your book or audiobook of choice from our bookstore. So check it out and let us know what you would like, because we're going to send it to you. And thank you so much. A little incentive for those of you to write in some questions to us.
DVD too.
Yep. Yeah, coming up. Thank you.
Bye.
This week's quote is by Mahatma Gandhi, and I found it in this wonderful little book called The Secrets of Success, which was a gift to me by my mother. So thank you, Mom. And in this book, I found this quote, and the quote is, "Freedom is not worth having if it does not include the freedom to make mistakes." So I really want you to think about that as you go throughout your week, throughout your day. Be gentle with yourself and others when you or them make mistakes, because, you know, just that little shift in thought may actually have the power to change your day and perhaps even your life.
In today's episode, we learned about how music can help with stress and reduce it in our lives, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing to learn. We learned about meditation, again, how meditation can really enhance the quality of our lives. And then we also learned about how when you're out of work, what can you do to keep that positive mental attitude? And if you want to learn more about what's going to happen in future shows, please visit our website at www.holisticsuccessshow.com. And there's also there a way to subscribe to our newsletter so we can send you out information about future shows and all the new activities we're doing beyond this show. And also send us your comments, send us your questions. We'd love to have you be part of our show.
Thank you for watching the Holistic Success Show, the TV show for people who aim to be happy, healthy, and successful.